Good day and welcome to the Storehub Retail E-commerce informal discussion. So what we'll be doing is looking at how we integrate with the accounting software through to your online store for automatic price stock updates and also fetching orders back from your sales platform to your accounting software. Now, what we do is we integrate with the following ERP systems and also sales platforms, but this list is changing on a regular basis. We're always adding new integrations, so please do check our website for the most up-to-date information for our sync connectors. So essentially, what we have is a e-commerce solution. So I'm going to use a quick little sketch diagram. This works pretty much the same for all of our ERP systems. So let's just call this ERP for now. So your ERP system is where all your financial data will be tracked, all your stock levels, inventory items, customer accounts, etc., etc. So what our system essentially does is it connects either via a desktop connection if you're a server-based accounting system, and it pushes stock and price data up to Storehub. And then from Storehub, we can then link the product information to, let's just call that WooCommerce. We can also link up as many other sales platforms as we want. So we can have a Shopify one, we could have another one for Take-A-Lot, etc., etc. And then one for B2B. So I'll go into the difference between retail and B2B in a bit. This video is focusing exclusively on the on the retail integrations and all the implications and types of settings that we can have when integrating with your accounting system. So once the sync is set up, our system automatically fetches all the product stock, SKU codes, product descriptions. We also honor all the VAT rates automatically. So if, for example, you have an item that's 0 VAT rated, that will be automatically honored. And then we'll push all those rates through to your WooCommerce store. Now, Storehub can be set up for use on an existing online store or can be set up for use on a brand new online store. And there's two key differences here. So often when a customer comes to us and says, right, can you help me integrate my WooCommerce or Shopify store with my accounting system? They will have already done all their merchandising on WooCommerce, i.e. their pictures, their categories, their long descriptions, or other merchandising information. And they don't want to export it into Storehub and then only to have it sent straight back again. So we can set up our app where we use your existing merchandising and then we just push price and stock to the store, and then we also fetch back the orders to the ERP system. Or if you're looking to have multiple online sales platforms, let's say for example you've got 3 different WooCommerce stores for 3 different regions linked to 3 different warehouses, then it would be best to actually upload all the merchandising data on the Storehub application, because then we can push out the merchandising to all the 3 different other locations. Okay. As you can tell, I like using my sketch diagrams just because it's a bit easier to illustrate certain concepts when you are trying to explain something quite complicated. Well, it's actually quite simple, but it can be complicated if you can't visually see the workflow playing out in front of your eyes. So, all right, let's say for example you've got your ERP system and you've got 3 different warehouses. Let's just call it warehouse A, warehouse B, and warehouse C. Okay, so often customers ask us, well, I want to show that stock across aggregated across all of my 3 different warehouses here on one online store, i.e. the stock level. So I might have, let's say, a toaster which has 5 in warehouse A, 6 in warehouse B, and then 11 in warehouse C. So I want to show, in theory, 22 stock items on my store. Now, this is possible, but we run into logistic issues when you start selling stock from different warehouses on one retail online store. So what we recommend you do is you actually split up the different online stores. So even though they look like 3 different online stores, you can say, okay, in Cape Town there's 5, in Joburg there's 6, and then in the other location there might be 11. So that that can be set up to all show on one WooCommerce store, but you need to physically order the stock from a different store, which is quite easy to set up. So when we set up the integrations for the retail stores, we have different settings that can make it a lot easier to manage for you as a business owner. So one of those key settings is the types of stock we have. So we can pick stock on hand or stock available. I'll go through these settings with you shortly. Let's actually break off to that now. Let's just go here, products, sources, channels. So for example, here we have the WooCommerce sales channel. If I click on edit, let's just see what the settings are. So here we'll pick the, or we can define the name of the sales channel, and then we can pick which warehouse and which price we want to fetch from which location. So master warehouse for stock and price, and then to write back the orders, we can use this warehouse as well. You can pick from a list of different warehouses. Then you can also define what is your retail price list going to be, i.e. what are your customers going to see on your WooCommerce or Shopify store. So you can have many different price lists and then pick one of those. Our application automatically writes back all cash orders to a cash sale customer. So you would have wanted to create a website cash sale customer to allocate all the orders to. You can pick whatever cash sale customer you want. And then for the cost of shipping on your online store, so let's say, for example, you're using a courier plugin, and the courier is, let's say, $35 for the cost of shipping. On the invoice, we will write that cost of shipping back to this service item, which is then raised appropriately on your accounting software. That makes sure that there's no need to ever manually capture any information, and all the order information that's needed to then process the order once it's been placed is then captured efficiently in your accounting system. So the next setting we have over here is an ERP order prefix. That sounds complicated, but basically what that's going to tell us is this is the reference on our accounting software for the different store orders. So where did that come from? So for example, you might have a store in London. You could put that for LND, so you know that the order was placed on your London WooCommerce store. You might have one for Paris. You might have one for Berlin. So you can essentially run multiple WooCommerce stores linked to one Storehub profile, and then in your accounting software see where did these orders come from when they are raised. So then we can see we can set the store to use tax inclusive or exclusive prices. We can choose whether we want to push price and push stock. And we can also choose if we want to manage the stock on the WooCommerce store. So these are all typically left on by default, as that's how the vast majority of stores will run. We can also choose to allow or not allow back orders. This is a stock threshold setting. So for example, if you have 20 items in stock and you set this to 5, we will reserve 5 stocks. So only 15 items will be shown as available on your online store. This is a key setting over here. This will save your business a lot of time. So for non-payment gateway orders, i.e. the person opts to make a cash bank EFT transfer or whatever you want to call it. Basically, they're going to manually process the transaction. We can choose what type of sales document we want to raise in your accounting software. So typically a non-payment gateway order would raise a quote. The reason why we want to raise a quote is because if the customer decides to not pay, then we can always delete the quote at a later point. A sales order may reserve the stock, and an invoice obviously confirms the transaction is final. So we don't want to do that for non-payment gateway orders. However, for a payment gateway order, we may want to choose a sales order, so we can at least reserve the stock, so we can't sell an item, we can't sell more than what we have in stock. And then for an invoice, we can also confirm the transactions. That might be desirable if your store is a very high volume transactional store and you're selling smaller items that customers don't typically want to change or amend the order after the fact if they want to call in or email for assistance. So we can use a sales order or a invoice for a confirmed payment gateway transaction. If the payment gateway fails, i.e. we don't get the money from the customer, then we can choose to do nothing thereafter, i.e. we won't raise a sales document in your accounting software. This is the setting I was describing earlier on. So do we want to do the merchandising on Storehub or leave it on our sales channel? This is great, especially if you are not doing any B2B commerce or you have an existing online store. And then these API URL, API key, and API secret are inserted from your WooCommerce sales channel. So that's very easy to set up. There's a separate video on that. I will link it in the description below. And then depending on your hosting environment, if you want to personalize how many products we push to your online store, you can do so over here, but we leave it as a default. So that's essentially how Storehub integrates with a retail sales channel. And the B2B is a slightly different context. You have concepts like sales reps, you have multiple price lists for different customers, you have customer specific discounts, you can have restricted products like customer category A can only see product A, customer category B can only see product category B, and so on and so forth. So that's how we set up the, that's how we differentiate between B2B and the retail sales channels. So yeah, that's pretty much all I want to show you for now. Just a quick overview of how Storehub works. If we go on to the website again, so once we've set up this sales channel and click submit, we'll instantly start syncing stock and price to the online store and then fetching back orders back into your accounting solution. If we go onto the orders tab over here, you'll see that we have a repository of all the orders that have been taken from across all of your sales channels. And if there is ever an issue with the data or a connection with your accounting software, you can simply expand that to see the items that were ordered. You can see the tax rate, delivery, billing address, etc. And then all the line items and quantities thereof that were ordered. So it's a nice little repository just to make sure all your order information is always accessible, regardless of what happens with the connection with your accounting software. Excuse me. And then on the logs tab, we have a sync repository. So that's basically a list of all the data that gets pushed to and from your accounting software. If there are errors, you can view them over here, expand them, and then see which items caused any issues with the sync. The total setup time for a retail integration is typically about 30 minutes at most. Once that's done, you'll then receive a handover from either a Storehub consultant or one of our business partner network consultants, and you'll be able to manage the software going forward. Typically, our software doesn't require any management from the customer side because the software is automated, i.e. it just runs in the background. The only time you'd ever need to log into your Storehub account is if you want to change some of the sync settings, or perhaps you want to upload some new products if you were doing your product merchandising on Storehub itself. So just to take a quick glance through the product merchandising tab, it's essentially all the information that gets fetched through from the accounting software. You can then edit the product name, you can change the images. We've got a nice little image editing suite, a CDN suite where it basically stores all the images online. You can edit the short description, long description, etc. So it's very simple, very easy to use, and we basically capture the essential merchandising information. So customers often find this a lot easier to use in WooCommerce or something like Shopify, where you really have a vast amount of data that can be inputted, which can get quite overwhelming. If you have more than one sales channel, for example, a WooCommerce store and a B2B store, you can toggle which items you want to have as active or inactive across your different sales platforms. So it makes it nice and easy to manage, especially if you have more than one sales channel. You can add or edit categories by clicking on here. You can add global attributes or variations like small, mediums, and large. And you can also see what the available stock and price is to a specific warehouse. So all of this information can be imported via a spreadsheet. We do use the WooCommerce CSV import template, so you can download an example over here, and then once it's populated, you can then import it directly into Storehub. So it makes it very easy if you want to migrate merchandising data from your existing WooCommerce channel into Storehub. And that's pretty much all I want to show you for now. We can go into more detail regarding the warehouse setup. So typically what we do is if the customer's got multiple warehouses, we'll advise them to pick their primary warehouse with the most stock, then use that with the online store, and then make items on your WooCommerce channel flag as quote only, and then a quote will come through for the items at the other locations. The issue with syncing up stock from all the different warehouses to one retail store is that, let's say for example, they're in very different or far apart locations. A customer might have only paid, for example, $10 for shipping, and what that's going to mean is that you now have to ship 2 times orders out to the customer to wherever they are, and your costs may be $35 because of the increase in shipping. So that's a primary logistical reason why we don't like to do that. The B2B store does cater for multi-warehousing automatically, but I suggest you click on the link in the video below to go and see the B2B discussion video. Thank you for your time, and if you've got any questions, please do email us at sales@storehub.io. And we've also got a web chat function and telephonic support available during normal working hours. So please do contact us there. We'll be happy to assist you further. All right, thank you for watching. Cheers for now. Bye.